bake the cake. Bake it, see how it turns out, just bake your cake. It is definitely out of left field, but it's a reminder to just do it. Just do it. Because if you think about it, wedding cakes, when you go to a wedding, at least like where I'm from, are very tall cakes, very decorated, and very like, you know it's a cake, and it's not messing around. And at first it's daunting. You think about how the baker has to make the bottom tier, middle tier, top tier. And that takes days to make the cake, do the crumb layer, finalize like the outside like frosting, decorate it, and put the final touches on it. But then it comes out beautiful. But obviously the first person's cake is not their best cake. It's just their first cake. And that's literally like you and I. Whatever we try first, it's not gonna be cute. It's not gonna be, it's not gonna be her. And that's normal. That is completely normal because we at least attempted to do it. And there's nothing wrong with attempting to try to do something that we've never done before. And I think that's the most exciting part, because when people are in your life and they are there for a reason and that they want to support you and actually they love you, they will be there for you. They will be there for you on your journey of making that cake. And they will help you learn how to make fondant. They will help you learn how to do the crumble coat and how to decorate and how to put that like spear down the middle so that your cake doesn't fall over. And if it does, they know how to pick it back up. And if you feel like you do not have a single person in your life to help you figure it out, to be there for you, there will always be somebody on the internet. They will teach you how to do it. They will be there for you. And honestly, push comes to shove, I will be there for you. I will support you from afar, and I will be your supporter and try to be there for you. Even if it's just making these videos for you. People will be there for you. You just have to find them. Literally anything and everything and all the resources that you can imagine are at our fingertips. And it's the internet. There are so many, I'm going back to baking, but there are so many baking videos on how to do it. Like there's a show that me and my family watch, and it's literally about like baking. It's called The British Baking Show. And it is so cool because some of these people are teenagers. Some of them are very young, and some of them are very old and who have years of experience. But it all started with making that one cake, that one dessert. And I love hearing the stories. There was one gentleman there who was taught how to bake and cook, or bake. He was taught how to bake by his grandmother, and he or she was or is his everything. And I don't think his parents were in the picture, and that was her. She was his everything, and she helped him along the way. And just seeing that, even though you might not expect it, that people will be there for you, and you just have to reach out to them. Like, I hung out with a friend last night, and she cooked me chicken Alfredo, and it was chef's kiss. Like, she literally, I was like, yo, how'd you make that chicken Alfredo? Because when I think of chicken Alfredo, I think of one that you get out of like a glass jar and then you just pour it in and heat it up. But she was like, no, I found it on Pinterest, and it's made with like cream cheese, butter, mozzarella, Parmesan, minced garlic, and heavy whipping cream or heavy cream or something. And I was like, oh my goodness. And she's gluten-free, and so we had like egg noodles and like what's it called, not French toast, like thick garlic bread toast. And the thing is, we would have never hung out if I wouldn't have reached out. And she's like one of my high school friends, and we don't talk very rarely, like, you know, but we like hang out maybe like once a year because we're just so busy. She works, I have school, and whenever I'm home, just reaching out. And I think that's one of the most important things of trying to reaching out to the people who will help you make your cake. Like I mentioned in one of my videos, I am starting like a club at my school, and lifting and movement in the gym are definitely one of her things. And I was like, yo, like, would you be okay if I like asked you questions and like reached out? And because she did coaching and she loved coaching and wants to get back into coaching sometime in the future. And she was like, of course. And then literally today, me and my other friend, we are going to like a park today to go walking. They're like state parks or like Providence parks or like just like a park to go to and walk around. And one of my family friends is from the area-ish. And I was like, yo, what are your recommendations to do? And they were like, this and this, don't walk around off the paths, you might fall off, just have some common sense. And they recommended me certain like spots to eat and to go. And it really just made me remember and think back to ask people for help. I know I've talked about this before, but you know, it's never a bad thing, and it doesn't show you that you have a weakness. It really doesn't. Because I remember in school, like so many kids, like all the time had the fear of asking questions because they didn't want to look dumb. They didn't want to speak up. They just didn't have the confidence to. But in life, you have to learn, like, just like thinking about like the school system, whatever. But I do think if you ask questions and that you try to make the best out of your education and your schooling, you don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the brightest. You don't have to get good marks or good grades or be a perfect student. But if you learn how to navigate through high school and school in general, if you learn how to understand other people, I know I will well, and how to try to connect with different people that don't have your background, I think you can really translate those skills wherever you go, because then you'll know how to approach people in life. Then you'll know how to advocate for yourself. And it just comes from the picture from me of how to bake a cake. Start baking your cake. Because a lot of things in life are very overwhelming. Very overwhelming. Like, I don't like packing. I don't like unpacking. I think it's a lot. I think it's very much like a bore, a chore, and a drag. And so I kind of push it off to the last minute, and I really need to start packing because I leave very soon to college again. And it gets overwhelming. But when you can chop it up, I will probably start packing today. I really will. I tell myself that. But will I? I don't know. Intentionally. My intentions are to. But will I? For you and me to figure out later. But I think if you can really chop up the small things or slowly work on something so it doesn't feel as overwhelming. Because we get in our head that things are a lot bigger when we think they are. Like fear, I love the quote. Fear is a mile wide, but an inch deep. I love that quote. Yes, quotes are very cheesy, but when you can apply them to your life, that is when they become like life mottos. And just trying to do something small, do something little is all that matters. Because like when you think of like marathon training or Ironman training or half a marathon, you don't just go run 7 miles and you've never run before. You go for like a 15-minute run walk session, and then the next week you do 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off of running, or a minute on and a minute off, or you get the gist of what I'm saying. You do something small. And that is the same thing for life. You do something small, you ask around. You do something a little bit bigger, and you fall down. And then you get back up, and then you try again. Because you don't think of a sous chef, or you don't think of a baker as somebody who can make chef kiss things out of the womb, or right exactly out of like middle school, like the kids baking show. They're not perfect. Kids are kids, and they're very like amateur. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you know that they're trying. And just because you might be an adult, just because you might be a little older, that like that innocence or that mentality does not really apply to you, and that you think that you have to be perfect, that same mentality does still apply to you. Because you have to give yourself grace. I still think this, you are still a kid at heart. Rather, the world has just happened to you. Years of life experience has occurred and has come about. But deep down, you are still the child that you were when you were little. But you know how to deal with things better. You know how to cope. But you still have that meekness and that humbleness of trying something new and being bad at it. Because I went to the pool, I think it was like, I don't even remember how long ago it was, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. And there was this older lady, she was like in her 90s swimming. And I was thinking, yo, she probably learned how to swim like when she was little. Like, you don't just pick that up. And I was like, hi, excuse me, like, how long have you been swimming for? And she was like, less than 10 years. I think she was like, she learned when she was like 82, 87, like very recently. I don't remember the age. But she was like 90 swimming. And she just learned a few years ago, and like relatively a few years ago. And she was telling me about that, and I'm like, holy cow. I really don't know if she's still around or not, because I don't see her at the pool as often, or at all this summer, I hope, but you know how that goes. But the point of that was to say that you're never too late to learn something, and you just need to start baking your cake, because who is to say you're not gonna be the best at it? Who is to say that you don't have the skills to do that? Because, you know, at least with the athletes that I've seen, they have picked up a different sport, they've picked up a different hobby, and it's new. Like, usually like my like typical background is like in like swim or like basketball or like soccer or like more like I don't know how to describe it, but like I've recently gotten into running. Left field. Random. I'm not a runner, like a typical runner. Like, I have no training, I have no like official background in running, but here I am, and I like really enjoy running. And you just have to start. You really do. Because you are gonna look at that cake And you're gonna be like, how am I gonna make this? I see these elegant designs. I see all these perfect tapestries around the cake. Every single little flower is perfectly combined together. But you don't have a place to start if you don't begin adding the flour, adding the sugar, adding the vanilla extract, the almond extract, the eggs, going to the store, buying those ingredients. You can't even start if you don't even try to make the money to bake the cake. And that is not to say that you need to strive for something, but rather you can do something small, like making your bed every morning, brushing your teeth after you eat breakfast, before you eat breakfast, showering at 7:30 instead of 8 o'clock, going to bed 5 minutes earlier than you usually do, putting down your phone 10 minutes before you go to bed instead of right when you go to bed. Maybe it's wearing yellow light glasses. You don't have to run a marathon to start. It just takes little steps to strive to get to that marathon or to strive to make that wedding cake. But the only thing you need to do is just to start. Food for thought.